Gleason over the center stripe for the Irish. Down the right side to McCarthy. Working it back and forth now, looking at Hawkins in the pivot. They get it to him. He turns and shoots short. Rebound beautifully by Johnny Cox of Kentucky. Whips it up to Vernon Hatten. Bringing it quickly into front court. Tried to hang Hawkins on his back and failed. Gives over to Krigler. Left side to Smith. And the pivot to back. Slap back out and up into the air. Krigler races back to pick it up at center court. Gives over to Vernon Hatten as we go into the last 7 minutes of the first half. Kentucky 29, Notre Dame 14. Down the right to Cox. Takes the shot over Hawkins. No good. Too long. Krigler gets the rebound out to Smith. 20 feet to the left. He missed it. Tap by Krigler. No good. Hawkins rebounds for Notre Dame. Over to Devine. He moves into front court for the Irish. Pulls up at the top of the circle. Flips out to Gleason. Gleason moves to the left. Passes to Devine. Looks at Hawkins. Breaks to the left corner and shoots. No good. Off the rim. Krigler slaps it down and out of bounds. Went up on the press table trying to save it. Goes to the corner. Back to Gleason. Back to McCarthy. Looking at Hawkins in the pivot. Outside to Gleason, who backs away with Adrian Smith on him. Whips to Hawkins. Turns and shoots. It's good. Tom Hawkins gets his second field goal of the game. Reduces the Kentucky lead now to 13 points. Passes out to Hatten. Fakes to Cox and backs away. Hatten comes to his left. Passes back to Smith. Down the right side to Beck, who's off the pivot, out to Hatten. He moves right, gets away from Reinhardt and lays it in beautifully, and Reinhardt fouled him. The goal is good. Hatten, a two-hand shooter, comes up from between the knees. Good. Kentucky 32, Notre Dame 16. Here's Gleason in front court, left side to Devine. Whips to Hawkins in the pivot, goes by on Beck, hooks it in, no good. The shot's nullified by a foul on Ed Beck. He shoots, no good. Tap by Reinhardt, no good. He rebounds wide open and lays it in. And cuts the Kentucky lead back to 14 points. Hatten fakes a 15-footer, triple teamed, and the ball's taken away from him by Hawkins of Notre Dame, who gives over to Gleason. Gleason on the right side to McCarthy, looks at Hawkins, gives to him. He takes back under the basket and lays it up. Good. Hawkins has 3 field goals. And so Notre Dame moves within 12 points at 32-20. Krigler drops a pass, picks it up, hits back on the pivot, gives in the right corner to Cox. Jump shot, good. 5 minutes to play in the first half. Off the left side to Bob Devine on Notre Dame. Quick shot over Hatten. Good. For Bob Devine, that's his first field goal tonight. Kentucky leads by 12 points, and it's timeout Kentucky. Maryland beat Manhattan 59-55 in a consolation game at Charlotte, North Carolina. It's back to play as Vernon Hatten moves Kentucky to the attack with a 12-point lead. Takes it to the right corner. Gives a bounce pass to Beck. Back to Hatten. Rolls it on the floor. Picks it up. Gives to Smith on the right side. Out deep to Hatten as Kentucky sets the court again. Hatten from 20 feet shoots to the left side. Krigler taps. Beck taps. It's good. Gleason in front court feeds to McCarthy on the right side to Hawkins in the corner. Quick jump shot. No good. Beautiful rebound by Vernon Hatten, who is fouled by John McCarthy of Notre Dame. Park pulls the right one back slightly. The first shot's good. Hatton's bonus shot's good. Kentucky 38, Notre Dame 22. We've already had 3 times out in this game, 2 by Notre Dame. Gleason in front court, feeds to the right to McCarthy. Outside to Gleason, back to McCarthy. Back out to Gleason into Reinhardt, turns and shoots. No good. High is Adrian Smith. The rebound knocked away by Reinhardt, but Smith recovers. Moves quickly back for the Wildcats in the front court, gives over to Hatten. Hatten fakes left, can't get away from Devine and brings it back out deep. Passes to Johnny Cox on the right, out to Adrian Smith. He sets, breaks on Devine to the baseline, backs into the corner, gives to Krigler, fakes a shot, knocked down by Gleason. Krigler picks it up and gives back to Smith out deep to Hatten. Hatten moves left against Hawkins. Screen collapses. He passes out deep to Smith. Smith to the right side to Krigler, fakes a shot, gives back to Smith, over to Hatten. Kentucky sets its court up balance, Beck playing the pivot at the free throw line, over to Cox on the left side, top of the circle. Here's the jump shot. Good. Johnny Cox, 4th field goal, makes it Kentucky 40, Notre Dame 22. Looks at Hawkins in the pivot, cocks that arm. And then Devine comes out deep to get the pass and return to Gleason, who brings it to the right side to hit McCarthy. Drives on Krigler to the baseline. The shot's good. Now it's Adrian Smith moving in front court to Krigler on the right side. Back to Hatten. Moves to the right side. Picked up and the ball knocked away. He recovers, bringing it back outside. Lets Krigler move off and whips over to Adrian Smith to the left. Back to Hatten. He moves to the right, staying deep with the ball. 2.5 minutes to go. Smith moves to the left, takes a 20-foot jump shot. No good. High off of the rim. It's knocked out of bounds by Tom Hawkins of Notre Dame. Cox and Krigler at the baseline. Reverse the pass to Cox. Here's the jumper. It's no good. Trapped by Krigler. No good. Rebounded by McCarthy of Notre Dame. Ed Gleason moves it back over the center stripe. Breaks left on Adrian Smith all the way with a foul against Kentucky's guard. Consolation won by Indiana, 98-91 over Miami. Gleason shoots, no good. Tap by Reinhardt, no good. By Hawkins, good. Tom Hawkins gets his 4th field goal to make the score Kentucky 40, Notre Dame 26 with 2 minutes in the first half. Smith out to Cox at the top of the circle. Double team. Reinhardt, Gleason over to Devine against Adrian Smith. 1-1. Devine from 10 feet misses. Outside rebound by Vernon Hatten. He goes down 2-on-1 with Krigler behind his back. He threw it out of bounds. Ed Gleason walks up the backcourt for Notre Dame. Now crosses the line. Moves to the left. Passes to Devine. In the pivot to Hawkins. A foul call. Shooting one with the bonus rule in effect. It's good. Hawkins takes the bonus shot as he's just picked up his 9th point of the game. The bonus shot, no good. Rebounding Cox of Kentucky. And the Cats hold on, 40-27. Up in the front court's Vernon Hatten. Over to Adrian Smith, left side to Cox. He breaks out against McCarthy to the top of the circle. Ball knocked down. Cox moves out deep and gets it away from Devine. Over to Krigler, to Smith, to Hatten. Kentucky slows it down now, playing slowly and a little flat-footed with Mills at the pivot. They give outside to Cox, who brings it to the top rim of the circle to Krigler. Here it goes to Mills. A hook is good. 42-27 Kentucky lead. Here's McCarthy from 20 feet for Notre Dame hitting as he picks up his 3rd field goal using the backboard. There are 40 seconds to go as Hatten moves slowly up the backcourt. Kentucky 42, Notre Dame 29. Hatten signaling, let's take one shot. Standing out deep, Gleason not putting any pressure on him. Gives over to Odie Smith. The clock shows 30 seconds and is moving as the Kentucky guards crisscrossing out deep slowly, keeping the ball in possession and moving all the time. Here's Smith moving to the left, staying deep as he cuts back to the right and gives to Hatten. There are 18 seconds to go. We'll call the seconds off as we can as Kentucky starts to move. Hatten deep, starts dribbling, right side to Krigler, 10 seconds to go. Smith gives to Mills, turns and shoots from 15 feet, no good with 7 seconds to go. A Notre Dame foul. Tom-tomming the ball. Now a one-handed shooter. The first shot's good. Looks. Shoots. Short. Hawkins rebounds for Notre Dame. Over to Devine. Flips a high one to McCarthy. Wide open. He lays it in as the first half ends. So McCarthy with his 4th field goal as the first half ends. Makes the halftime score Kentucky 43. Notre Dame 31. Beck and Hawkins move in against each other. Signify they're ready to go, and so stand by for the second half. Beck taps twice, and Hatten gets it just in Kentucky's front court with Smith breaking for the basket. Hatten had a dangerous pass, and he didn't risk it. Now gives to Smith, takes a return out deep. Calls Smith to the left, he moves to the right against Gleason, gives to Cox. Here's the jump shot. Good. So Johnny Cox opens the second half with his 5th field goal, and Kentucky leads Notre Dame 45-31. Bounce pass on the left side to McCarthy into the pivot to Hawkins. A jump shot over Beck is good. So Hawkins quickly matches Cox with his 5th field goal, and it squares off at 45-33. Vernon Hatten moving up into front court, moves to the right side, picked up under the basket by McCarthy. He shoots no good, taken off by Notre Dame. McCarthy rebounding, giving it over to Ed Gleason. He flips to Devine, back to Gleason. A southpaw moving in front court against Adrian Smith. Flips, Beck cut it away from Hawkins, stealing for Kentucky. Gives it over to Vernon Hatten. Hatten lets Devine slide by and then moves into front court for Kentucky. Gives to Beck on the right side, back to Smith, breaking to the baseline. Backing away, passing out to Cox. 20-foot jump shot, no good. Cox hit the floor as Reinhardt picked off the rebound for Notre Dame. Kentucky 45, Notre Dame 33, each team with a field goal. Hawkins for Notre Dame, Cox for Kentucky. Here it is, whipped to Hawkins into the pivot, turns and shoots, no good this time. Slapped by Reinhardt, no good. Cox rebounds for Kentucky. Quick one, Brownsville will clear himself, gives over to Vernon Hatten, and moves up in the front court. Down the right side to Krigler, Hawkins on him, he shoots, good. Gleason of Notre Dame back in front court, wheels hard to the right, drives all the way and lays it in. Tremendous drive by Ed Gleason for his first point of the tournament. And the score is 47-35 as each team picks up 2 field goals here in the first 2 minutes of the second half. Smith, he moves to the left, knocked down, he gives to Cox, takes a return over to Hatten in the pivot to Beck. Fakes to Smith going by, moves to the left, gives to Cox, deep to Hatten. Hatten looks at Krigler on the right, waves him back in. Cox goes down to the baseline as the pass is over to Smith, moving to the left, back to Hatten. Hatten fakes a shot, gives to Smith, whips to the pivot to Beck, back to Hatten. A 25-footer goes up, no good, short. Hawkins of Notre Dame rebounds. Flips it over to Devine, Gleason. Ed Gleason Big 6 foot, 190-pound guard in front court for the Irish. Gives on the pivot there to Reinhardt. Spins to the left and shoots. No good. Outside rebound by Reinhardt. Lays it up. No good again. Hawkins rebounds for Notre Dame. Lays it up. No good. Tap by McCarthy. No good. Rebounding Krigler of Kentucky. Passing up to Adrian Smith, and Kentucky holds on to its 12-point lead. Hatten moving up into front court now. Watches Krigler move off the right side. Shakes his head. Krigler comes back out. Pass to Smith. Over to Cox. One bounce dribble and back to Smith to the right. Back out deep to Hatten now. Back to Smith on the right side. He moves a back block with Beck. Gives back to Hatten. Out to Smith. Moving to the left side. Has it taken away, but picked up by Hatten at the free throw line from 15 feet. Good. Vernon Hatten has 5 field goals. Kentucky leads 49-35. Cats back in front for the third time by 14 points this second half. Gleason of Notre Dame on the left side to McCarthy. Takes a return. Right back to McCarthy. Back to Gleason. Fakes an outside shot. Gives to McCarthy, who turns and shoots good off the free throw line for Notre Dame. So McCarthy with his 5th field goal gives each team 3 now after 3.5 minutes of the second half. Pulls up free throw line deep on the right side. Hands to Cox, moving by him toward the right corner. Pivoting, giving a bounce pass to Beck. Fakes back to Cox, gives to Hatten. Breaks by, and Reinhardt fouled him, grabbing for the ball. Kentucky leads by 12 points, as they did at halftime. Hatton's free throw good. That makes the score Kentucky 50, Notre Dame 37. To McCarthy, a return to Gleason. Looks at Reinhardt, gives over to McCarthy. Breaks on Krigler to the baseline with a whistle and a foul called. Here's the free throw. Good. So it's Kentucky 50, Notre Dame 38. Vernon Hatten very quickly back in front court. Stays deep with the ball low. Moves to the right with a pass to Krigler. Out to Smith. Moving to the right, now backing away. Passing deep to Cox and taking a return pass. Gives over to the left to Hatten, still deep. Looks it back on the pivot, who goes out of the 3-second zone and gives to Smith. Back over to Hatten on the left side to Cox. Here's the jump shot. No good. Hawkins rebounds for Notre Dame. Kentucky does not have the spring and zip that they had in the first half. Notre Dame playing with more confidence now. As the pass goes in there, a bad one through everybody. And out of bounds to Kentucky. So Vernon Hatten gets the incoming pass, lays in backcourt just long enough to hear Coach Adolph Rupp say something to him. Cox and Krigler both on the left side. Gives to Beck. Smith breaks through. The pass is out to Krigler. Hands to Hatten. Moves to the left side, yelling set back up. Balancing his court. Smith to the left side to Cox. Hatten goes through. Back to Hatten. Under the basket on McCarthy. He lays it in. Vernon Hatten's got his 6th field goal, setting that one up for a 52-38 lead. Gleason of Notre Dame in front court on the right side to McCarthy. Out to Gleason, back to McCarthy on the right side. Duffy waiting to get in for the Irish now as McCarthy breaks to the right corner, returns to Gleason. Looks at Reinhardt on the pivot and backs out deep. Gives back over to McCarthy and to Hawkins on the baseline against Beck. Here's a jump shot, no good. Bounces off the rim to the left to Reinhardt, knocked away. Hatten of Kentucky races out and gets it in ahead of Devine. 14.5 minutes to play. Hatten back in front court to the top rim of the circle. Backs away now to set it up. Over to Smith, down the right to Beck, who pulls off the pivot. Gives to Hatten going to the baseline. Against Gleason, can't shoot. Hands the ball to Devine. Tried to get a pass to Beck and takes it right back away from Devine. Beautiful defensive play by Vernon Hatten. Over to Krigler. Back to Hatten. They call a walking infraction against Krigler and give the ball back to Notre Dame. There are 14 minutes to go. Kentucky 52, Notre Dame 38. McCarthy on the right side. Out to Gleason. Into the pivot to Hawkins. Back to Gleason deep. Gleason moves in, shoots from 20 feet, no good. Off the rim to Hatten of Kentucky. Hatten slows it down, moving up the backcourt now. Looks over his shoulder. So he moves on into the full head of steam in front court. Over to Smith, left side to Cox. Hatten gets it, moving left side. Here's from 20 feet, good. Vernon Hatten takes the field goal lead, and timeout, Notre Dame. So Bob Devine gives to Duffy, who has come in to replace Gleason. Duffy, the little 5'7" guard against Adrian Smith. Left side to Devine. Back to Duffy. Whips to McCarthy. Turn shot short of the rim. Rebounding is Reinhardt. Notre Dame gives to Hawkins. Turns, falls away from Beck and misses. Tapped up by Reinhardt. No good. Cox knocks it down on the floor and gets it as he's fouled by Reinhardt of Notre Dame. Cox, a two-hand shooter. Shoots short. Beck taps it in. Ed Beck with his 4th field goal. Sends Kentucky in front by 18 points. After 7 minutes, Duffy in front court, fakes right, comes left, gives to Devine from 20 feet to the left, no good. Tapped by McCarthy, by Reinhardt, and rebounded by Vernon Hatten. Gives it to Beck to renew his dribble. And moves up the backcourt, waving Adrian Smith away from him. He calls Beck off to the right. playing a double pivot with Krigler and gives to him. Fakes to Smith going through, gives to Cox at the free throw line against Hawkins. Back out to Hatten, over to Smith, who comes outside. Whips a bounce pass down the right to Hatten, under the basket. Knocked away beautifully on a defensive play by Hawkins. Beautiful defensive play by Tom Hawkins, right under the basket on Hatten. Here's Duffy of Notre Dame feeding left side. Hatten knocks it down away from McCarthy, picked up by Cox of Kentucky. Flips over to Vernon Hatten, up to Adrian Smith. Notre Dame's Bob Devine started in backcourt to pick up. Smith moves on, gives in front court now to Hatten. Yells something to Beck, who moves off of the pivot to the right. Down the left side with a high pass to Cox. Hooks blindly behind him beautifully to Smith, who lays it up no good with a foul on the play. Adrian Smith of Kentucky will shoot two. First one's good to give Kentucky a 19-point lead. Second shot good. Kentucky 58, Notre Dame 38. Duffy of Notre Dame over the center stripe. Down the left side to Devine, and the pivot to Hawkins, who charged into Beck. That's Hawkins' third personal foul. Kentucky goes on top 21 points, 59-38. Starts with a pass to the left side, then does whip to Devine, who breaks on Hatten to the baseline and shoots good. 10 feet to the left, Bob Devine got his second field goal of the game. Kentucky 59, Notre Dame 40. He yells over to Smith, who moves to the left. Hatten comes to the right, gives to Krigler, out to Smith, left side to Cox. Whips to Krigler under the basket as he shoots. A beautiful defensive play by Mike Graney of Notre Dame. Knocks the ball over to Gene Duffy. The Irish have it back, trailing by 19 points. Up into front court, Duffy slanting to the left side, staying deep, gives to Devine. He wheels out, takes a 20-foot jump shot. It's no good. Taking it off Krigler of Kentucky. Krigler moves it up the backcourt himself, over the center stripe, giving to Hatten. Moves right side. Devine tried to get it. Hatten spun around twice and got it. Cox picked it up. Out deep, gives to Beck, out to Hatten as Kentucky sets it up now as we move into the last 11 minutes of the ball game. Over to Adrian Smith, down the left to Krigler. Whips. Oh, Hatten is tripped on the floor, and the ball went over his head. Little guy alternating hands in the dribbles as he moves up in the front court against Adrian Smith. Breaks to the left, and a foul is called, charging on Duffy of Notre Dame. Adrian Smith of Kentucky shoots and hits, and the score is 60-40. Looks at the pivot, gives to Graney, who turns into Krigler, and Krigler knocked it down. McCarthy picks it up and shoots. Good for the Irish. For John McCarthy, his sixth field goal, and draws the Kentucky lead down to 18 points. Passes to Smith, fakes left side to Cox. McCarthy was in a dangerous defensive position. He gives it over to Krigler, who's picked up by Duffy. Over to Adrian Smith, who takes it back to the left. Gives a pass to Cox now on the double pivot to the left. Over to Hatten off a screen. Shot good. Vernon Hatten hits his eighth field goal. Kentucky goes back in front by 20 points as we move into the last 10 minutes of the game. The ball knocked away, picked up by Duffy. Gives over to McCarthy, breaks to the right, picked up by Cox. Knocked the shot down and took it away from him. Here goes the catch, running 3-on-2. Cox gives to Krigler, breaking to the right on Duffy. He pulls up, and a foul goes against Notre Dame's Gene Duffy. Got it. Kentucky for the second time is ahead by 21 points, 63-42. Pulls up, whips to Graney at the free throw line, gives to McCarthy, juggles it, shoots short. Rebound, Tom Hawkins can't save. Hatten got it. Faked the fast break pass out of there, didn't like his odds. Quickly pulled up, gave to Smith, now takes a return. Hatten moving up in front court. Brings Adrian Smith to his left. Sets out deep, gives a bounce pass to Beck. Smith goes through, pass to Cox. Here's the 20-footer. No good, rolled off. Graney slings himself like a dog coming out of water as he got that rebound, determined he wasn't going to lose it. 9 minutes to play. Kentucky 63, Notre Dame 42. Here's Duffy breaking. Krigler took the ball away from him, but a foul, though, is called against Adrian Smith. Free throw good by Duffy. Notre Dame, incidentally, has committed 6 personal fouls. A bonus rule is in effect against them. Here's Vernon Hatten back in front court with a 20-point lead at 63-43. Smith to Cox on the left side of a double pivot. Takes a hook shot. No good. Ed Beck rebounds, brings it outside, passing deep to Hatten. Hatten holds it behind his back, yelling something into the pivot as Cox comes out on the free throw line. Smith moves right. Hatten takes it left, staying deep with it. Passes back over to Smith, down the right on the bounce. In it goes to Hatten, taking the little man to the pivot. He got it. And for the first time, Kentucky leads by 22 points. Here's Duffy driving to the right, can't get through. Passes to Hawkins from 20 feet. It's no good. Tapped in from the right side by John McCarthy. 7 field goals for McCarthy, who leads the Irish in that department. Smith goes through. Cox returns to Hatten to Krigler. From 20 feet, it's short. Off to the left. Beautiful rebound by Johnny Cox. The hook. No good. Krigler taps it in. Krigler has 2 field goals in each half. Duffy of Notre Dame has it kicked right back in his face by Adrian Smith as he starts a low hopping pass in the pivot to Hawkins. Krigler knocks one down for McCarthy, who recovers. Now Smith knocks one down and McCarthy recovers. Gets it over to Duffy, who breaks down the middle. A foul goes against Adrian Smith of Kentucky. No good this time. Hawkins taps, no good. Cox rebounds for Kentucky. Fires it out to Hatten. Duffy went in to pick him up. Hatten dug in his toes and moved away. Comes up into front court. Bounce pass on the left to Cox. Shoots one to Adrian Smith and out of bounds. Knocked away by John McCarthy of Notre Dame. Notre Dame, Kentucky. Score stands 67-45. Wildcats lead. Pass into Hatten deep to Smith. Down the right side of a double pivot to back to Hatten, who brings it back out front. Notre Dame now is making sure they keep Duffy out of that defensive pivot. That's what Kentucky's been doing with Hatten, taking the little guy in there. Hatten, a 6'3.5" guard. Duffy, only 5'7", is, of course, helpless. Here's a bounce pass into Beck. Smith goes through. Duffy's just not going back in that pivot anymore. Smith waving, Hatten rather, yelling to Smith to come on out, get her started. Graney playing in front of Beck then to cut one off, didn't get it. Smith held up, gives to Beck, takes it facing Graney, looks for his situation, finds Hatten open under the basket, and he lays it up, no good. McCarthy rebounds for Notre Dame. Moves it up over the center stripe, top rim of the circle, breaks to the left. Hooks one up that's no good, bounced off of there, and McCarthy made a beautiful tap, then Hawkins knocked it in. Tom Hawkins gets his 6th field goal and 13th point of the game to move the Irish back within 20 points as we have 6 minutes to go. Hatten gives to Beck in on the high pivot at the free throw line, knocked down as he's fouled by Mike Rainey. Ed Beck shoots one. He got it. And for the 3rd time this season, Ed Beck is in double figures. Timeout, Kentucky. Ed Beck, as we go back to play now, is on the free throw line for a bonus shot. And that's the 2nd time this season. Beck has scored 11 points. 69-47. Here's Rainey missing. Hawkins taps. McCarthy taps. Rainey taps. Hawkins taps. Twice and in. Hawkins finally knocked in his 7th field goal to narrow the Kentucky lead back to 20 points with 5.5 minutes to play. Hatten giving to Beck in front court. Duffy stabbing and missing. Hatten has it out deep. Notre Dame's going to put the outside pressure on the Cats defensively now. Smith whips to Cox on the double pivot, takes a return pass going by against Hawkins, who fouled him. Smith shoots. Good. Second shot. Good. For Tom Hawkins of Notre Dame. That's personal foul number 4. Kentucky 71, Notre Dame 49. And for the 4th time, the Wildcats lead by 22 as McCarthy unloads one from 15 feet. No good. Krigler rebounds. Flips over to Adrian Smith. Got Duffy on him. Duffy coming up on the blind side as he whips quickly to Hatten in front court. Here it is in the pivot to Beck now. Back to Hatten. 15-footer. Good. Vernon Hatten's 10th field goal. 23rd point to shoot the Cats on top 73-49. Duffy whips to the pivot. Devine breaks. Hooks left. Shot in and out and back in. Bob Devine has scored his 3rd field goal of the game, averaging 12.9 coming into this game. Adrian Smith picked up in backcourt, but Duffy comes in on Devine. Krigler gives to Beck, who's fouled immediately from the rear by Mike Graney, the center. The shot, short, no good. Cox taps, Krigler taps, and Notre Dame rebounds as Graney pulls it in, knocking Cox to the floor. Over to Duffy. Duffy in front court for Notre Dame, breaks left. Adrian Smith turns him and he flips a blind hook, no good. Tapped beautifully by Graney, but it rolled out, and Beck takes it off for Kentucky. Beck was pivoting then, covering about a 10-foot circle. The front court as Hatten shoots one over the center line to him. Devine moves in on him. Smitty pulls up, gives right side to Beck, way off the pivot, under the basket to Hatten. Goes in on Hawkins, hooks it back and in. The magnificent Vernon Hatten. We're going to give you a score in a minute that's a real shocker. Here's Graney hooking and missing. A foul on Kentucky. First shot good. Graney has another one coming. Not missed a free throw. Shoots his last one. No good. Short. Hit Cox in the shoulder, and he was able to recover quickly enough to get it. Spins around, still in backcourt with it. Hooks over the head of Devine to Hatten. Left side to Smith. Here's a 20-footer. Good. So Odie Smith gets his first field goal in the second half, and Kentucky leads 77-52. Duffy breaking right side, threw the ball behind the back of McCarthy as Odie Smith knocked it away. Pass over the head of Graney. He finally gets it and shoots over Hatten, in and out. Beck rebounds for Kentucky. McCarthy tried to knock him down. Beck held his footing. McCarthy seeing Beck had good position, tried to crowd him out of there and couldn't. Smith in front court, left side to Hatten, and the pivot to Cox. The hook! It's good. 6 field goals by Johnny Cox. Adolph Rupp is going to clean the bench. Krigler steals, throws to Hatten. He goes in on Bob Devine. He missed it, but he's fouled. 5 substitutes waiting to come into this ball game with 2 minutes 20 seconds to go. Duffy breaks to the left. There goes the hook. It's short. Cox rebounds for Kentucky. Brings it out of there with a whistle and a foul against Notre Dame. Listen to this for these Kentucky regulars coming out of the ball game. Johnny Cox of the Kentucky Wildcats shoots one. Bonus rule to go. 2:15 on the clock. Shot. Good. Even Adolph Rupp, the molder of these great teams, said this team didn't have it. But by golly, if a team ever just decided they were going to get it, this one did it. Here's a shot missed by Notre Dame. Take by Johnson. Fed to Cassidy from 15 feet. It's no good. Tapped up by Johnson. No good. Atkins rebounds. Missed. Outside Phil Johnson rebounds. Flips to Bill Smith. Fakes a shot. Gives to Earl Atkins. 1 minute 50 seconds to go. Kentucky leads 81-52. Cassidy in a double pivot is fouled. Bill Cassidy on the Kentucky free throw line, who takes a great pride in this free throw shooting. Hits. It's good. Kentucky leads Notre Dame 31 points. Expressions when this score is announced around the nation tonight. Notre Dame misses another shot, and Harold Ross fouls, trying to get the rebound. Shooting for Notre Dame, Bob Bratke, one shot. It's good. Atkins gets the incoming pass. Notre Dame picking up. Atkins comes on into front court. Pivots, passes right side to Ross. Moves down, passes out to Atkins, and the pivot to Smith, knocked away, picked up by Abe Collinsworth on the left side. He moves in, flips one to Bill Smith. He brings it out, gives to Cassidy. Moves down the left side, and a foul is called on a collision. Temple is leading Dartmouth 10 points at the half. That's the team that the winner of this game plays. The bonus free throw good by Bratke to make it 83-54, cutting the Kentucky lead to 29 points. He's got 2 men wide open. Gives to Atkins now. They yell shoot. They want to see the set shot. Over to Ross. Left side Collinsworth. Whips to Atkins. Turns and shoots. No good. Taken off by Collinsworth. He goes under the basket. Makes a fake and is fouled as he jumps to shoot with 57 seconds to go. Check us on that. A jump ball. Neither boy gets it on the first tap. Then it's knocked over to Gleason. Gleason back in front court for Notre Dame. 50 seconds to go. He takes a 20-footer and it's no good. 3-on-1 to Smith from 10 feet. No good. Cassidy rebounds, and he's immediately fouled by Bratke. Hoppy, as his teammates call him, is a southpaw. He shoots a one-handed free throw. No good. Bill Smith taps it back to Ross. 25-foot jump shot. No good. Tapped by Bill Smith. No good. Who rebounds. Turns around and shoots. Good. That is the first point this season for Bill Smith. And Kentucky, for the second time, leads Notre Dame 31 points. 20 seconds to go as Gleason down the middle is fouled. Gleason shoots, good. Shot, good. Collinsworth out of bounds, gives to Ross. Notre Dame full court press and another foul on Notre Dame. Ross free throw, good. Bonus shot, good. It's 87-56. Up in the front court, Gleason breaks to the left and walks with it, and Kentucky gets it. 10 seconds to go. Gleason finally gives it to Ross, who whips to Atkins. 6 seconds to go to Smith. Drives under, gives to Collinsworth. He lays it in. The ball game is over. And the final score is Kentucky 89, Notre Dame 56. Bernie Shively moves quickly to the center of the floor as Johnny Jordan, the coach of Notre Dame, moves off, gets a handshake, first of all from Vernon Hatten, then meets Adolph Rupp. Next February 14th, Kentucky and Notre Dame will play again at Chicago Stadium. If you were listening to us last night, you heard Johnny Jordan himself say that, and it had not previously been announced. Well, before the individual scoring,